Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Vagrant. So we had a boss fight and then we had another boss fight, and there's just a kind of large amount of dialogue in between the boss fights, and we're still not really getting to a point where it feels like a dungeon so much. Like, even though it looks like a dungeon in a Metroidvania game, in the in the menu in the map, it doesn't really play that way. Like it's actually a dungeon. You just have too many of these flat areas where nothing is going on. Not even like surprises happen in a lot of these areas too. So you get these situations where you really should just be running because nothing's gonna happen. We're just back to more cutscenes. This isn't good enough. They deserve a harsher punishment, but for you, Rune Warden, for you I will spare them. I don't even know if she's talking about Mark and Anne-Marie deserve a harsher punishment. I guess maybe they do, is who she's talking about, but it could also have been the Academy Battle Mages. We have some business to discuss, Tall Tree Witch. Hee. Sundith notices the ring on Vivian's finger, nodding her head in satisfaction. I guess Sundith is the Tall Tree Witch, which this is another example of having characters have multiple names. I suppose that's probably a localization issue too, because her name in Japanese may very well be a name that would translate to something like Tall Tree Witch, but it is just her name in general. I don't know if I have a great example. Ichigo, for instance, is the name of a character in the anime Bleach, and part of the reason why his name is Ichi is because he is the firstborn son, because Ichi is the number one in the name, and that's fairly common to have Ichi in the name of the firstborn child or firstborn son. It's like Sudith, not Sundith. Vivian responds to Sudith with a smile. So, about the bracelet. There's a demon who lives in the abbey near Wheat Dawn. Yeah, I'm starting to have trouble reading again. Who calls herself the Count of Piety. He loves to cast illusion magic to lure young ladies such as yourself, Rune Warden. Hee. And the demon has the bracelet of Zoe. His spells are quite dangerous, but I'm quite sure you can deal with his nonsense. Take this enchanted paper, and remember, only use it after you get into the abbey. I'll keep that in mind. Enchanted paper, what a bizarre trick. I have nothing more to offer you. Leave an old woman to her thoughts. Farewell, Tall Tree Witch. Goodbye, hee. The day has finally come. The Rune Warden is strong enough, and I should make my move now. Betty, Mommy is coming. So apparently there's more backstory to this witch, even at this point. May destiny show mercy upon the Rune Warden. May she live long enough. What am I saying? I have a great matter to attend to. I doubt the Tall Tree Witch is supposed to be the supposedly dead mother of Vivian, the Rune Warden, but maybe. Still just getting a lot of backstory on a lot of characters. The rifts of Mythrilia have been unlocked. Okay. So, my goal is to probably go this way and see Interesting, a door opens and closes there. Interesting little sound effect. Well, I want to check to see if this room goes anywhere and does anything. Definitely feels like there's an argument to be made that didn't kill that guy. That after a lot of boss fights, it should just fade to black and I should just be in different areas. We've never been in this area before, and yet this is a rift, which I think once again would highlight that. Oops. Found the Book of Runes. You're now able to extract higher level rune stones by disposing of equipments. Interesting. Well, I just disposed of a bunch of equipment. So, that was a mistake. I guess the map isn't going to mark that as a place to check out, so we'll probably forget it's even there. Do I feel like I am equipped well enough to potentially take on even the runes in the previous area? I would say probably not. And at a certain level, I just don't know if it matters, because it kind of feels like that is just like DLC extra content. One hit kills for ravens is nice, but hardly super helpful. And I guess killing the deer is basically just hunting the deer for a small chance at them dropping chunks of meat, which then would let me cook the occasional recipe. The whole cooking minigame fad, I don't feel like it worked as well as they had hoped. Well, let's just make sure there's... I'm gonna just take about 5 of these. I don't think there's anything more really worth buying here. When you see it like in Zelda Breath of the Wild, cooking becomes far too emphasized as a concept, and when you see it in this game, it's far too under focused on. I just don't know if there's ever really a good balance. Part of the problem with like Breath of the Wild's system is that you have to repeat the same actions to cook things, where here you just have to click on a specific button, and I much prefer that as a concept after you've figured out the recipe. But then there's also no experimentation in the way cooking happens in this game, where you can't just mix and match ingredients. Again, we're probably just going to tell the boy to stay back. Well, soon to end Wheat Dawn. It'll be difficult. It'll be much different from our last journey. We need to be fully prepared, and I think it would be best if you waited for me in the tavern. Don't underestimate me. You're just an apprentice after all, and I'm still cursed by your teacher. If a dog is to catch its prey, you have to let him hunt on his own, understand? There's no need to speak down to me, Rune Warden. I know my craft. Not like those 2 battle mages, you don't. There's no need for false bravery. The killing squad from the academy could have taken both of us with little more than a lift of their hands. Those two were rogue agents. They don't represent the Academy. Of course, I must be mistaken. If not, it's not as if one of the most prestigious witches of the Academy and her apprentice are busy blackmailing a wandering stranger. That would be unheard of. It's a righteous institution. You asked me about my sister's death, remember? ... I guess now we're just getting backstory out of nowhere. She was murdered by battle mages from your precious Academy. 5 of them were sent to kill one young woman and her baby sister, and just to take something that didn't belong to them. No, you're wrong. You must have done something. It must have been your fault. I don't know what I expect to hear from you after telling you that. It doesn't matter. Just remember to have your kind Academy teacher kill me with her curse if I fail or attempt to escape. I certainly want to see the Witch of Vervindi keep her promise. Now he's in parentheses. Camden remains silent. He seems to be stunned by Vivian's word. Let's go. Like, convincing this boy of what seems to be the case, that the Academy is bad, is probably just setting up the boy to be killed. Right, so now we are in Wessendale, Wessendythe Kingdom. And I'm expecting just more verticality. Although not too much can really change. We have now a nice little scenic sea view. It is questionable how many of these different layers are actually hand-painted, though. Like, I could see the sky is probably hand-painted, but is the ocean really hand-painted with that animation on it? Probably not. That looks computer-generated. Is the background buildings hand-painted? Possibly. Let's see. You found yourself in the city of Wheatdale. Be on your best behavior. If you make trouble, you'll have yourself a busted ass. There's a strict curfew in the city, and if you're homeless, you'll find a nice place, a nice home in our prison. So I guess Vagrant may make some sense in this case. Need to find a place to rest. This might also be a good place to leave Camden a while I check out the Abbey. So this is going for more of a Middle Eastern theme, bazaar type environment. Coastal kind of desert with the rocky paved stones. But I don't think it's going to go particularly Middle Eastern. Move on, Vagrant. I imagine I'm not going to end up fighting this, guys. No matter what I do. So now we have a big muscly guy. These are the best prices in this or any other town. Even the nobles of the court buy from us. So what do we have here? We have what seems to be a considerably higher amount of items, but the prices seem to be insane. A mithril armor here for 5 million gold almost certainly means you either get this from a drop or you do some quest to reduce the price. 50,000 gold is not out of the realm, though, for defensive 44, and arguably even getting plate armor over chain armor would severely increase your defense. Like right now, I have a fully upgraded chain armor, which is contributing to a defense of 40. A fully upgraded plate armor could probably get me up to 60, maybe even 70. And then you basically double that with black iron armor, It's not like I have a lot of other stuff to buy. Anyways, so I guess the way to play this is to probably buy nothing and just build up your gold until we can build up our ability to sell things for more money, because we have a lot of stuff that we can sell. As for swords, I mean, a snowflake at 90 maybe makes some sense. This silver moon is again 5 million gold and it does an attack of 200. It just doesn't seem realistic at all. 450,000 for an attack of 160 for the trampler maybe makes some sense. And yeah, we would want to get at least a straying knight, and that's barely higher than the attack we have right now. If we were going to sell items, it wouldn't be consumables, it would be materials. So we're looking at like 225 gold if we sold copper tubs, about 3,600 gold if we sold silver bracelets, and then about 3,300 gold, or actually exactly both of those numbers, if we sold the gold necklace. I guess that's 1,800 for the jade things. 1,800, 2,100, 2,000, 4,000, about 25,000 it seems like we probably could sell. We have a 10,000 golden goblet, 5,000 there. So we could get up to like 50, 60,000 gold by selling right now, or we can wait until we have more of a reason. I think it is also probably not worth it to sell a $500 amulet, 500 gold amulet now, and get 1,000 when we know we're going to get a whole negotiating perk. So it just feels like it's going to be a late game factor. We need to probably fairly quickly spend 5,000 mana to increase the gold drop by 5%. And then 5% cheaper on something that's 5 million is quite the savings for 10,000 mana. And then selling items for 10% more gold probably is maybe worth it, but it's going to be very late game. The game potentially might end though with only half of these skills unlocked, and so overemphasizing on money may not really pay off. See what this character says. Oh, hi, do you happen to know? No, of course not. I don't think you can help me. I wish to work with the royal court, but they have no need for chambers maids anymore. See, I told you you couldn't help me. Here, take this. Everything here is so expensive. May be best for me to look for work elsewhere. So what did I just get? Was that a chamber pot? It was a teapot. It's not a chamber pot. So I have no idea what she just handed me. It's probably not anything to really worry about. Take a look, take a look. Even if you're not buying, take a look. Well, this puts us in a weird position in that we still don't have anything higher than medium potions. I just don't think these other potions are really worth it to buy. If you find them, fine, but yeah, there's an argument to buying some more potions, but there's also an argument to not. We have 2 small potions, 6 medium potions, 2 large potions, and 3 XL potions. Selling any of these is totally a waste of money. Is it really necessary to have 2 different shopping stores, and when you could have potentially combined that into just one character in one store? Probably not. I have a lot of these guards, so I can't help but think we are going to end up fighting them. Yes, the smell of gold, but not quite enough, methinks. Come back when you get more. Alright, well, let's leave that guy alone. Seems like you can pester the guards. You there? Who are you? What do you want in this place? Where did you come from? The sword, what is it for? This is not a town for sword swinging outsiders. You should watch yourself. My neighbor Thomas is locked up in prison for beating an old man with a stick. Then he met a guy with a massive head. Huge head, hey? You should watch yourself in this city. It's the end of the world, I hear. No one respects their elders anymore. What is it they say about those who don't respect their elders? Oh, something. Now, what was it? So this is just an old lady droning on. Seems to cycle between 2 fairly long conversations. We are really out of the character design now. I mean, just look at Vivian on the left, and then this big fat comic book like character on the right, and then the guards are big fat characters. I mean, they kind of look like Popeye characters. It just does not match. The old lady here is all bent over and crooked and seems to be not following the concept of having large cleavage, so I guess in this universe at least a few characters don't have giant boobs, although the next character does have giant boobs, but still really feels inconsistent to the characters on to Vivian. Hello my friend, you must be famished, come in and get something to eat. So the problem here is we need to eat each of these, and I guess we're just going to waste our money that way. Eat one of that. I just kind of don't care what order I eat them in, so I'm just going to start at the beginning and end. And that was like 3,000 or maybe 30,000 gold down the toilet just to buy all of that. Eat all of that. So if this guy didn't like that I had gold, he smelled poverty away from me. So you can only talk to this guy when you have a considerable amount of money. Anything, even the smallest amount of change will help. Should I give him 10 gold? Yes. Bless you. No. Oh, I'm starving to death. Please, madam, do you have any money to spare? Sure. Bless you. Let's give him 100 gold. Or just keep on giving him gold until something feels like it helps. Is there any reason? Yeah, a rune for 100 gold seems like that is very much worth it. Let's do this one more time in case the counter resets. It may be very random too. It's funny how much voicing happens here, and this is potentially a point where you wouldn't want so many sound effects and voicing happening. It might be a case that the more you give him, you're going down a path of getting more rewards instead of it being just potentially getting a random reward. Giving him 10 gold though is such a small increment. It's just not really a big deal. Mana is the real currency in this game anyways. Seems like I've given him nearly 400 or 500 gold at this point though. So you may only get one rune from him, and then anything on top of that is nothing. Also doesn't feel like there's an achievement around this, because doing it this many times just seems kind of ridiculous. Let's do it one more time. One more time. I guess this is the problem, you're just going to keep on gambling. And it just doesn't seem like it is going to pay off a second time. The bless you might be giving you some kind of blessing stat in the game. Let's go up here. Is this the same kids throwing rocks at this poor guy? Just leave me alone. Those kids, get them away from me. Just leave me alone. Oh, my stomach, what are they doing here? So these kids are bullying this man, or assaulting this man. While that bum's crapping his guts away, I'm gonna sneak up on him and kick him into his own mess. Oh, so maybe he's trying to go to the bathroom. Oh ho, that dumb bum drank the poisoned water you gave him without even questioning it. Crap, crap, crap. Gods above. Why are we doing this petty stuff, gang? There's better tricks to be had. Crap. Oh well, until then, let's push the bum into his own crap. I should go. So, is that what these rocks are? Are piles of poop? Noticeably, there's just nothing here. You can't attack the guy. Why are you watching me struggle? My stomach, I can't hold it much longer. Please, I beg of you. Take this and leave me alone. I can't hold it anymore. It's like 2,000 gold. So it's kind of interesting little revelations, but it's hardly a dialogue puzzle when you just need to exhaust everything. So even over 10,000 you still smell poverty. So we need 20,000-30,000 at least. Here we have another character leaning over particularly to show off her large amount of cleavage showing. If you look at her legs though, they're super skinny and thin, like they could barely hold her body up, and they're in this weird angled position that doesn't quite make sense. I suspect this might be a bordello or cabaret, because the next character on the right, which I'm still not really sure I would agree that these characters are quite in the same art style as Vivian. They have really big hair like Vivian though, and wild hair, and really giant boobs. The character on the right with the giant fan is emphasizing her butt a little bit more. Care to buy me a drink? Stop wasting my time unless you intend to pay for it. So she is basically a stripper, call girl, prostitute. Sorry love, we don't serve kids. Wanna work here someday? Haha. Get out of here kid, my time is my money. How old is Vivian supposed to be? Because it really changes the story a little bit if she starts calling Vivian a kid and it turns out Vivian is like 16 years old. Like that would change the story a little bit, instead of Vivian being assumed to be, oh, I would assume she's at least in her 20s, if not older. And I think the story may have explained that. But then again, she may be calling the boy a kid, and that this is the end. You intend to return to me once you find the bracelet, right? I paraphrase there. Of course, it is in the interest of my own health, isn't it? ... Wouldn't be surprised if the kid recognizes that the spell has been broken. So Camden, again we're getting a cutscene where we see Camden talking to the witch lady, which honestly the witch lady should just appear on screen to remind us what she looks like, as kind of like a magical hologram. Madam, has there been any progress, Camden? There's some new information, yes. A demon located in Wheaton is in possession of the bracelet of Zoe. The demon's apparently capable of powerful illusionary magic. Well done. What about the rune warden? She is well on her way to finding the bracelet. The tall tree witch gave her some aid in dispelling the illusion spells. Are you not with her, Camden? Well, the rune warden has her curse. She should be no threat to us. Madam, are we going to remove Vivian's curse once she has completed her task? Of course we will, Camden. I would be nothing without my word, so I intend to follow through with my promise. Has she been complaining of the curse? No, not especially. Concentrate on the task. Do not allow yourself to become distracted. Yes, madam. I will be on my way to Wheattown once I've finished my investigation. That's great news. Report to me the moment the rune warden finishes her task. If you see fit, contact me in her presence. As you wish, madam. Dear Camden, we will return to the academy once we are done here. Thank you, madam. I'm not too fond of this wretched place. Patience, my student. I await your good news. So just a kind of long-winded, pointless conversation there. And I guess the idea here is that this is the end. So which way is the way out? What do you want to see what I've got? Let's see what this guy's selling. We already have that. This would be 100,000 to decrease damage by 20%. We'll probably get that from a drop, but that's not a terrible thought. Increasing your attack by 5 might be worth equipping in your average fights, but not worth it in the boss fights. I think we already have that. Increasing a rage regain by 1 might be more useful in the long run. Let's see what this guy... Don't bother me, what? The room's not good enough? You better still tip. Alright, so... yeah. You can't even talk to the boy, so... there's nothing in that room. And it's not treated actually like a room on the map. So let's see if these guys say anything different now that the boy's not with us. Get out of here, kid. My time is my money. Fairly inconsistent in the dialogue. This guy's seemed to be a little bit more tan as a variant guard. Yeah. Need a pass to enter the Uptowns area. Do not waste my time if you don't have one. You might need to get a pass. And these kind of feel like these are manholes for maybe a sewer section. To make several variants of different outfits of the guards implies to me at some point we are going to be fighting the guards. But they are all just saying the exact same thing. Okay. We want to save anytime we're given an opportunity to save. Now I have to get the bracelet of Zoe first. So there's the real dungeon is north on the map, and otherwise this is just 5 screens that you could run through between the northern border and Mythrilia. I actually exited the map that time without hitting the B button and wasting energy or rage. It's been a long time now since we've had a fight, and we are back to fighting maybe stronger variants of zombies. Those ghosts died in one hit, but they were very floaty. You would kind of expect more of a challenge there, but whatever. I'm sure we'll eventually get into more of a dungeon area. I guess it's very possible that those were illusions. We don't use the magic spell paper until we get into the castle. We've got some statues here. A lot of potions. Alright. We don't really have enough mana to... There is something up there. But I don't think we get a triple jump. So I can't imagine that there's actually a way to do kind of an upper attack. Like pressing Y does a dodge, and pressing B does that attack in the air. So unless there was a jump and then a dodge, they got you a little bit more height, which it does seem like it gets you maybe a couple pixels height, but not quite high enough. So are we going in a graveyard or are we going in a castle? I hope this little sycophant didn't notice this. Let's see what Snidith's, that's the tree witch's, message says. Vivian opens the enchanted paper given to her by Sudith. The situation you find yourself is unfortunate, but if you're reading this, you must be out of sight of the petulant little mage. I've enchanted this paper to be unreadable in the presence of anyone but yourself. You have great strength within you, and it should be with little left that you can take care of Santiago. Be wary, though, because that filthy demon preys on the weakest parts of even the strongest hearts. It concerns me that the Witch of Verde seeks the bracelets of Zoe. This holy artifact should not find itself in the hands of the Academy. Not only does the bracelet control the very force of life, but it also has the power to activate the gates of the abyss. Why Holborn would want the bracelet I do not know, but be wary of her sellsword. She is the most treacherous of snakes. The enchanted paper vanishes. What does Holborn want with the bracelet of Zoe? Is she planning to? No, certainly not. I guess the implication there is that she might open the demon world. It seems that Sudith is unaware that I'm interested in the powers of the bracelet myself. My father's book mentions its ability. It must be a clue to finding his whereabouts. Sigh. That's the duty of a rune warden, to always be seeking. Here we have yet another flashback image, which again feels slightly as a different art style. Just like my father, my sister Valerie became obsessed with that book. I tried to burn the book once, but I was caught in the act. I was afraid it would tear apart my family. We made a simple living by poaching, using swords and runecraft discreetly. Father told us to keep our identities as a runes warden secret because the Academy would have us killed. And again, this painting is just totally missing details here. It feels completely different. But the Academy found us. Assassins arrived in front of our hideout. Valerie gave me the book and hid me in a cabinet. I couldn't stop crying. She slapped me and demanded I not make a sound. Before she closed me in, I saw her face. It held the expression I never forgot. She had a look of gentle love and peace in her eyes. I rarely saw such tenderness in her. She caressed my cheek, and I leaned in close to say, "Live for me." The assassins never found me. Most of Father's research was stolen away, and the hideout was burned to the ground. I had no real home since then. I buried Valerie. Her chest had been ripped open by a magic arrow that had entered through her back. She had slayed 3 battle mages in the battle. She died so that I could live. She was always tough on me, but I only remember the gentle expression on her face when I think of her. Again, very little detail here. I can't help but feel like they probably blew their budget having someone hand paint all of these cutscenes. But these cutscenes kind of need to be here, or they kind of don't need to be here. There is a different way in which this whole backstory could happen. Every time you were forced to save at a camp or at a cutscene in a campfire, there could have just been a journal entry of text alone added to a journal item in the menu, and then players who want that backstory could read that, and then most players who don't want that kind of backstory, which I'm not sure that's actually the majority of people who would play this game, could just skip it and play the game for an action. Certainly on a second playthrough, having to go through all this dialogue would be very slow. But yeah, if it was just a journal entry, just every time you were at the campfire, she wrote a new journal entry, and you could read it at your own discretion, then you don't have to animate any of these still images, and that gives you more budget, more resources to make one more enemy, one more level. I decided to read through the book contained within the guidelines and instructions for living as a runes warden. It is a vault of knowledge filled with the legacy of Magnus, the great wizard who founded the Academy. So Magnus does seem to be both the founder of the Academy and a runes warden, or the runes warden stole Magnus's knowledge. And this is, I guess, where we'll get back to the age of Vivian. If she's being depicted in the past like that, then you have to kind of assume that she was probably somewhere around 13, 14, 15 at that time, which does definitely imply she's older more of an actual adult at like 20 or older. Although, as the way characters are depicted, particularly in Japanese style of animating, like a character that looks 20 versus a character that looks 65 looks almost exactly the same in many instances. There's just no difference. Once they're an adult, they always look cartoony and young. And I guess if you were to apply the same logic, Mickey Mouse is probably 102 years old from the first time he was animated. So I imagine Mickey Mouse doesn't actually canonically ever age. But yeah, if you were to ask a random sampling of people, I don't know what age they would say Mickey Mouse is supposed to be. I imagine most kids would go, oh, he's probably a kid's age, a teenager's age, 20 at most. And if you were to ask adults, they probably would say, oh, he's probably in his 20s or 30s. The book taught me how to survive as a rune warden in this world. And you can tell I'm not very interested in the story at this point. Another depiction of Vivian. Maybe the messy hair is supposed to be an indication that nobody ever cared for her and she never cared for her appearance, and that's why it is so messy. I live as a vagrant. To most, I am little more than a stray dog, and I guess that's where the vagrant title comes in. But perhaps then you should have used that line at the beginning of the game, not several hours in. Although noticeably, it seems like she can put her hair up and actually wear armor at sometimes, because now she's being depicted completely different from the way she normally is depicted, at least for his hair, and there's definitely no bikini only armor here. This might be a example of them dancing around with the idea of the bikini armor and adding it fairly late, because you would have to commission these paintings fairly early in production. I hid my runecraft to the best of my ability. I eventually joined a mercenary band, the Eagle Company. Is that really an eagle on her chest plate? And that looks more like a dragon. As a sellsword, I lived that life for years, but when the mercenary group became a military order, I worked directly in the interests of a tyrant king. I took my leave. A king's greed is not my destiny. If she put her hair up when as a mercenary, why is she not putting her hair up now? I guess maybe she's just so strong it doesn't matter. She does have like the armor on one side. Yep. My destiny was spoken of in the book. I decided to seek it out. I began my journey for the last and only connection to my bloodline. At a certain point, this almost feels like this is doing the joke gimmick of the character Quiet in Metal Gear Solid 5, where the explanation of this character named Quiet being in a military game and in a military organization and yet wearing basically just a two-piece bikini, although maybe it really was just a bikini top in Quiet's example, was that she was breathing through her skin or needed sunlight or something ridiculous like that. The idea certainly is that she's supposed to be kind of like a barbarian character, and barbarians are often depicted in loincloths and shirtless men. There's no place to go but forward. What my family has chased for years has become my goal as well. You could have skipped all of the other dialogue and just said that. Or you could have skipped all of this in general. The Academy covets runecraft. Holborn has proven that I have to be careful with every step I take. Alright. And we might as well just save after that long conversation, and you can see how the map wraps around. Oh, I really want some more action and less dialogue. food does not increase rage. That's an interesting... interesting wailing. I just got an achievement. Like, we know that this is going to end up with us having to investigate everything, so let's just start here. Let's also check the weapon. Straying Knight 115, Straying Knight with a rad 3, defense increase major, add minor thunder damage. Yeah, definitely equip that. Still don't feel like now is the time to not. Let's see, we can add crit up. Yeah. I don't know if these runes get any better. Like this Gifu 1 and Gifu 1. If wearing that ever turns out to a Gifu 2, that'd be interesting. It definitely feels like there is going to be a system eventually where runes are going to be merged. Imp's Nail's probably not worth equipping as a weapon, although we should. This is gonna suck because we're just gonna keep on getting items, because it definitely seems like a new system has been evolved from us. Let's see, let's go and dispose this so that we can enchant this item. So now it's doing fire damage and thunder damage. So that makes a very nice weapon. If you could do fire, thunder, and the ice damage all at the same time. Right. This isn't a boss character, but that definitely feels like a stronger character. Yeah, my defense doesn't feel particularly good. Let's just work our way around here. Like, yeah. There's a real inconsistency in how many different characters make sound effects. Too. Like, a lot of enemies barely make any sound effects, and we've got no music playing. And the game felt a little hitchy there. Right. So that leads to that. Okay. And this goes in here. So this does feel like it has a lock on it, but that didn't stop me from just breaking the lock. Okay. Now I have the Aegis fragment. Which, what do we need to potentially unlock the Aegis fragment? This requires Thunderheart. This requires Flaming Stone. We really don't have that much anyways. Yeah, I just don't see it. What was the thing that was locked behind the Aegis fragment? We could unlock that and increase our luck by another 5%. We probably should just upgrade Rune Warden multiple times, although multiple levels of Rune Warden may not do anything. Alright, let's see. So, item, key item, Aegis Fragment was once one of the strongest shields. It unlocks Hawkeye level 3. Where's Hawkeye? Nutrition, Forest, Advanced Haven's Fall, Shining Assault, Forest, Elevation, Rolling Slash, Hawkeye level 1, level 2, level 3. So I could jump up to increase half a percentage of critical and spend more to get to this, to then get crits to potentially deal more damage. And there is potentially an argument that when you start to do combos and when you start to fight enemies in large groups, that crits are going to play a big role in boss fights, potentially going as far as taking large chunks of life out. Is it really worth fighting all of these characters multiple times? Probably. I mean, you are getting decent chunks of mana from it. Here you have an angel statue showing a little bit of cleavage, but a little bit different. I probably should be using the rage attacks more in those kinds of fights. It feels a lot like Death's Domain in the, I guess, Marvel universe. Maybe, yeah, a little bit more than in the DC universe. Did we actually look at this entire section? No, because we didn't walk this way. Can't go back here. Even if these guys are knocking me down, though, they really aren't like doing enough to make it that difficult. They just don't have enough damage that they can possibly deal. And maybe we're not getting enough health back as we would like when we pick up gold. Or we're just potentially not picking up enough gold to justify the health upgrade. But it is mostly working. Guess you have to be kind of careful though about using your rage in the wrong way. I have no idea what potion is even equipped at the moment. I'd assume that this is the smallest potion. Let's see. And was that worth it? Absolutely not. So yeah, that's a small section, a small area there. It doesn't bode particularly well for the next section, because while there is perhaps a more winding path and more reason to go and investigate other things, it leaves not that much screen and map space for the rest of this kingdom to have a lot of encounters and fights. It does seem to me like the plan here, though, is to make the game really have you fight bigger enemies instead of fighting more enemies, which arguably maybe fighting more enemies would make more sense as a way of balancing it out. We still have just a kind of high level of insanity as far as upgrading scavenger to get more gold drops, which we probably should go for, but then maybe increasing your luck even by +5 increases the chances of large caches of gold. It seems like we're getting about 100 gold every time something drops, so 100 gold per coin versus 105 gold may not be as big of a deal as another 5 luck. It still does seem like the only thing that levels up is Rune Warden itself, and the rest of these are one-time unlocks. There are at least just a lot happening here. Yep. As far as food goes, we now have a fried egg versus a poached egg. So what does a poached egg cost to make? Egg, meat, and spice, whereas a fried egg is just egg and butter. It's honestly not particularly even that expensive to cook any of these. This one's probably our best though, plus 5% attack and 5% luck. It's using what we have the most resources of. I could also go with this and go plus 4% attack and plus 6% defense. And we're almost getting to a point where this makes sense to engage with more often. Although I still suspect that there is a decent chance that there are only 5 more recipes in the entire game, and that the system really won't ever evolve to be something that matters. Yep. As much as I would like to enjoy visual novel games, I would say part of the problem why I don't enjoy them, and not that this is a visual novel, but it does have a lot of story in that same vein, and the reason why I don't enjoy them is that the writing never really catches my attention. I don't know if the writing is particularly bad or if I'm just not really enthralled. I'm usually not really enthralled with most story and narrative in most forms of media. But yeah, this game unfortunately does have the feeling that it is trying to stretch itself out far too much by telling me backstory and narrative. It is definitely not following the old adage of show don't tell in TV and movies, and I would expand that to also video games, that you should be showing, not telling, and instead we're getting a lot of telling. There are also just a ton of sub-menu options here that aren't really playing towards anything. If this was a true Japanese RPG game, then these menus would at least have more value to them, and there would actually be a reason to go and use them, but they become these hindrances and not something that I would actually describe as a secondary game mechanic. I would more just describe it as a way to show numbers that could easily have just been hidden internally and make the game feel bigger than it really is. Perhaps at some point this was going to be a full RPG game. It does have a lot of feeling of some of those Final Fantasy games where you're going on this epic journey and fighting people. It just has a faster gameplay mechanic, which I appreciate that with the hack and slashing, but it doesn't seem like it fully engages. Comparing this to Metroid games, which are much older, feel like they play a lot better, and that there is much more thought and polish put into each encounter, each room, each enemy you run into. Whereas this is just throwing random creatures at you and slowly increasing their attack and defense. Anyways, it's been an hour, so that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.